All right, I just got back from seeing Blue Giant in theaters. This is the new anime film from Yuzuru Tachikawa, who is the director of Mob Psycho 100. And it's based on a manga series that's been around for a little bit, a few years now. I almost picked this manga up several times at the bookstore that I normally go to. It was just sitting there. But in general, I have a rule against reading music manga because manga is not the medium through which I want to experience a story about music. I would very much prefer a audio visual medium when it comes to music, even more so with Blue Giant because, as you can see, I am a sax player myself. And the main character of this film is a sax player, although I play alto and he plays tenor. But anyway, yeah, I was very interested in what I was gonna get out of this movie, especially because even though I am a sax player, I'm not really a jazz guy. Like I don't dislike jazz, but I was always much more of a classical musician myself. But, oh boy, does this film sell you on jazz. It goes all in on trying to make jazz look like the greatest fucking thing ever. And on the whole, I think it succeeds in that regard. It just goes balls out with all of these performances. Let's just jump into the performances. These performances are so fucking cool, with one exception visually that we'll get to in a little bit. But like the audio texture to it, actually the first performance actually threw me off a little bit, like when he first plays for when Dai, the saxophone player, plays for Sawabe, the pianist, for the first time. It actually threw me off because he just goes full growl with the tone that he goes for. Personally, I think growl should be more of an accent than the main play style. See, this is where we're going to get into the specifics on like my personal preferences for jazz and just tone and stuff. But aside from that, the like present, like that was just like one instant, like that was like a one-off though. Like the growl is not totally present for the rest of it. I think now that I'm thinking back on it, it's just like he's just trying to be absolutely in your face as much as possible in that particular moment. But the performances overall are just so incredibly like big and bombastic and in your face, and the audio end of it is definitely a huge part of it. I believe I forgot who the saxophone player was in the credits, but the music overall and the piano parts were done by, I think it was Hiromi Uehara, who's apparently like a big jazz pianist in Japan. Oh boy, these piano performances were something else, especially like the last real big piano thing. Like this, there's a point where the big character growth moment for the pianist in this film, it's insane. He's doing shit that I've never heard people do with a piano before. So apparently I need to listen to more jazz pianists because goddamn, that was insane. But aside from that, the visual presentation of these performances is so goddamn impressive. The color design is so fucking good. The visual representations, like the abstract metaphors of it all, like a lot of them have this very elemental theme to it. Like there's one that I would describe as kind of like a cozy campfire, almost candle kind of feel. One of them has like this electric energy to it, and where it's like supercharging the audience. One has this like ice thawing metaphor in it. Like these are all like the visual abstract representations of it. And like there's one that's just feels like a roaring blue hot fire. That kind of plays into the title a little bit, but well, I'll leave that for you when you eventually go see this. By the way, if you do end up seeing this in theater, as a side note, you will be forced to view a trailer for the new Miyazaki film, so just a heads up if you wanted to keep yourself like image free before you saw that. So I have to live with that trailer now. But anyway, the visuals were so goddamn good. Like the last performance, there is a moment where like he goes like this is the director of Mob Psycho 100, and that part of him comes out in the last like big performance of this movie. It is just awe-inspiring. And like even aside from that, like there's almost like a little bit of Yuasa elements to this too, and just how the colors flow and how these shapes and forms mesh with each other. This movie was a lot more abstract than I was expecting, and I love it for that. But there is a downside to this, because there is a trade-off, because the abstractness and the like crispness of it all, the abstract color work and the crispness of the like instruments and the facial expressions are one thing, and then sometimes we get really bad CG models. Yeah, there was definitely a trade-off. And now it doesn't always look bad, but most of the time the CG models don't look good. Like there was one part in particular where like you could see, I think it was like an alto sax player just like not really doing anything sensical in the background. It just looked really bad, because especially like a lot of the times the lighting for those moments isn't particularly good either. Not that there's a lot, well, lighting can do a lot when it comes to CG models, but it can only do so much. One of these days, everyone in Japan, everyone in the anime industry is going to learn how to do what Studio Orange does and actually, keep the frame rate the same as the rest of the shot. I don't know. That might help. Just saying. Because these CG models are such a absolutely garish eyesore on what is otherwise a visually stunning film. But even outside the performance scenes, there's some pretty I do like the general feel of this film visually. Like, the character designs are real interesting. Like, Dai has this, like, very old-fashioned kind of character design, almost. He reminds me a little bit of, like, the main character from Hajime no Ippo. It's got kind of that, like, almost, like, shonen gruffness to it. Meanwhile, the piano player, Soabe, he floats somewhere between, like, Rintaro from Steins Gate and the main character from, Parasite. He's got this very like suave character design, and then the drummer is a little bit more in the like, he's almost like Tompa from Hunter x Hunter, but not nearly as ugly. I like the diversity of character designs in this. Just generally well shot, well composed. It's just visually very solid, except for those damn CG models. But aside from the visuals, it's those visuals are supporting a really solid story underneath all of this too. It's very much a very passion-driven film, a very emotion-driven film. Like these guys really just want to play jazz, and sometimes it goes a little bit overboard with that. Whereas like there are some moments where it's like, well, no, you kind of actually have to put, like, some mental thought behind this, but Dai is just like, no, I'm just going to play. I'm just going to play, I'm going to play, I'm going to play, I'm going to play. Which, you know what? I've met people like that. So, fair enough. Fair enough. I was in the School of Music at my college for 3 years, so I have met those people. They are something. Yeah, this was, but that part of it is also very endearing in a way, because, like, it's also, it's very shonen-y, but not in an immature way, because there are a lot of like, it never goes like, it never dips too far into like power of friendship territory or willpower territory, because like there's a moment, again, part of the Sawabe's character arc, where like one of the characters just gets super real with him and is like, I don't have time for your bullshit, I'm just gonna like keep going. And it was a very interesting moment. Like, Dai is a super static character in this, which is fine for what he is. Like, he's just the insane talent that just throws himself at the music nonstop. Probably the most riding the line of suspension of disbelief part of this film, though, is the drummer getting as good as he does in what I think it's like 18 months. This is how long this spans. Now, not to disparage drummers, but if I was going to pick one instrument where you could get fairly competent in 18 months, probably drums. But even still, some of the stuff he does in like the final performance of this movie is pretty intense. So that was a little bit riding the line of suspension of disbelief, but I was willing to roll with it, just because like the intense passion behind all these characters was really enrapturing. You really get swept up in the passion of these guys. And also, they just have really good chemistry together. These are some college age boys hanging out, playing music, and getting totally engulfed in the music that they're playing. Is good times. Yeah, I kind of felt like I was going to have more to say about the story, but it kind of really is all about like the passionate side of it. Really, like, there are some cool, but there are some very like interesting, like, down to earth moments, being like, hey, you have to do this, or hey, you kind of suck. I don't have time for this. And so it's not like the answers to things are like formless. Just be passionate. Like, there are more like interesting critiques to it. But yeah, really enjoyed this film. Oh, I forgot to mention about the like the visuals. Like, there was a shot, I think it was in the final performance, where it was like very, like, I don't know why I didn't notice it until then, but like they finally put like the Selmer logo for the saxophone front and center, and then I saw, like, you saw down on the towards down a little bit further, it was a Super Action 80. I'm like, oh, fucking of course. I have a Selmer Paris personally, since I'm more classical folk. I was more classical focused, but a Super Action would definitely be better for jazz. I'm surprised it wasn't a Yamaha, though, because the drums were Yamaha, and I'm surprised that they didn't do like a Yamaha for the saxophone, because that's the other big, like, for saxophones there's Selmer, there's Yamaha, and then there's everything else. So that doesn't matter. So I'm surprised that Yamaha was not picked as the jazz sax. But again, I don't know as much about jazz, like the specifics of jazz, as I probably should. But yeah, overall, really damn solid film. There was some really strong emotional moments in like the last act of this film too. I don't want to dive into any spoilers or anything, but there's some really heart-rending stuff in it. It can be a little corny. It can be a little corny at times. It can be a little straining suspension of disbelief sometimes. But aside from those terrible CG stuff, the visuals pull you along so well, and the passion of these characters pull you along so well, that this is definitely a film worth seeing if you get the chance. I'm feeling probably like a decent to strong 8 on this one. This was a really damn good film. Definitely going to pick this one up on Blu-ray when it comes out. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you haven't seen on the main channel, I just posted a hour and 15-minute video about Pokemon Journeys. You can go check that out. Next video for this channel is probably going to be, I think it's Tunnel to Summer, but Sentai has been super waffly on release dates for that, so who knows. I'm finally going to be jumping into more seasonal wrap-up show stuff soon, too. And then if Tunnel to Summer doesn't come out when it says it's coming out, it'll probably be the Digimon 02 movie. So I'm excited for that. That's another director I really want to see more from. So, yeah. My name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.